Chubb.
So early on, you saw the change from the line of scrimmage of that offensive line. And then, one of the things that makes Chubb so special, he's physical, but he's also fast enough to run away from the defense.
And then it's Baker Mayfield making plays where they're up 10-9, and then he's got his tight end, Austin Hooper.
Yeah, Greeny, they ran this same play in the first half early, and he missed it. This time he snaps his eyes backside and finds Hooper on that shallow cross.
On the other side, you had Mason Rudolph had some good moments, and then he had this moment.
Really good pressure package out of their defense. Myles Garrett actually drops into coverage, and that pressure forces Mason Rudolph to float that football. Finally, Cleveland's defense creating some turnovers.
And with a chance they flip the field because it goes to the fourth quarter, and then they flip it to Jarvis Landry, and he's in, and the Browns are in charge.
How about that play? A little bit of jet sweep, goal line handoff to Landry, which I love, but this is something Pittsburgh needs. The deep ball to Chase Claypool. Physical enough to kind of out-jump or out-extend that defensive back to make that catch. Happened a couple times in yesterday's game.
That one makes it 24-16, and then the Steelers are down there again, and this one to Juju Smith-Schuster makes it a 2-point game. The 2-point conversion would tie it. Dan, what do you think of the play?
I don't mind the play at all, but you at some point got to give your guy a chance to get his hands on the football. Mason Rudolph, scramble around, something like that. Give your guy a shot.
Steelers then have one more chance on the onside kick. Steven Carlson is the Cleveland Brown. You're going to see it here. He's number 89. Watch where that ball is. It's between the wickets. Somehow he comes out with the football and gives Baker Mayfield the chance to ice it.
This is an awesome play call by Kevin Stefanski. You're talking quarterback lead. Look at the emotion from Baker Mayfield, realizing this journey for not only himself, but this whole city, this whole fan base. An awesome moment walking into his tunnel.
Think how long ago 2002 was. That's the last time the Browns were in the playoffs. And so here's the AFC picture. You don't see Kansas City on the screen, of course, because they get the bye. Ravens, it starts with Colts-Bills on Saturday. Sunday, our game is Ravens-Titans. That's the early spot, ESPN and ABC. Sunday night, these two teams rematch, Cleveland and Pittsburgh. And again, Kansas City gets the bye. So we spent our first hour talking about the Browns. Ryan Clark, my longtime Steeler, let me now come to you. You see the Pittsburgh Steelers going into these playoffs. They didn't play Ben yesterday, so you take that game for what it's worth. Do the Steelers, to you, look like a team that can make a run to the Super Bowl?
Nope, they don't. And that's pretty simple to me. And listen, we saw them play good ball for a half against the Indianapolis Colts, but that team doesn't beat the Buffalo Bills. This team doesn't beat the Kansas City Chiefs. And that's hard for me to say, but this is the team that doesn't dominate up front offensively. Now, you see they've started to throw the football down the field in the last game and a half, and maybe that's something that can create points like we saw it do early on in the season against the Philadelphia Eagles when we thought, oh my God, this offense has it. Chase Claypool is a revelation. Juju Smith-Schuster working out of the slot. Deontay Johnson making big plays. They haven't been that team. And defensively, they haven't turned the football over like we'd like them to do or like we expected them to do early on in the season. And so for me, this team has played well enough down the stretch to at least say they can win a game this week against the Cleveland Browns. But to say that this team ends up in the Super Bowl would be a stretch, even for a dude who desperately wants them to.
Rex, Super Bowl Steelers?
No, Greeny, when you've had, Ryan talked about it, they played one good half in the last 5 games. I get it, they're 12-4, but they're 1-4 in their last 5. They're going the wrong way. This team is not peaking. They're doing just the opposite. So, no, they are not a real threat.
You haven't seen things from them that were encouraging. I actually emerged more encouraged than discouraged, at least from yesterday, the way they fought without Ben and a lot of other players that didn't play. You didn't see it that way.
No. I never saw it that way. And to me, I'm looking at a thing where, look, they can't run the football.
Right.
Their defense is really good, but it's not as good as it's been in the past, so I don't see them going anywhere.
And Dan, let's just give you one moment on the other side here. Again, Baker Mayfield, the subject of as much conversation as probably any player in the National Football League the last 3 years. What do we say about him today?
He was worthy of the number 1 pick. When he was taken 3 years ago, he was worthy of the number 1 pick. I remember this offseason, people going like, what did Rex say?
Josh Allen.
Think of the way they end this game, right? Look at the play call from Kevin Stefanski. You get that orbit motion. Now you get your tackle on a defensive back. You get your tailback lead blocking. Watch this block by Kareem Hunt. Look how good that is. And then Baker, let's use you as a little bit of an athlete to go kind of secure that win. And again, I've talked about this emotion right here. Like that right there. That is a year of Baker not being good last year, having way too many commercials and being too loud, not handling failure well enough. Is Baker Mayfield, can he get fired? Is he going to lose his job if he doesn't play well? Are they going to take a quarterback in the first round? And all he does is go out and ball. And he proved he was worthy of the first round pick, that first overall pick.
And there you see it, the QBR 10th in the league this season. Quick break. Marks going into that. The Miami Dolphins, based on a trade, have the 3rd pick in the upcoming draft here. Should they be thinking quarterback when they get there?
No, they should be thinking really good offensive lineman or really special wide receiver. There'll be 2 of them available in your top 5 picks. Listen, Tua's going to be fine. He will be absolutely fine. I know everyone's like, man, Tua stunk and whatnot. Did the Miami defense show up yesterday? No. So we can put as much yesterday on them as Tua. Here's the thing. First of all, poor offensive line. We've talked about that with the Dolphins. And relatively poor skill players. And a scheme that's poor. Those 3 things with a young quarterback, you're going to struggle. Okay? So they need to upgrade the offensive line still. They need to get better skill players. They need to get better wide receiver weapons on the outside. Top to bottom. And then they need a scheme that's going to fit his skill set more on a consistent basis. He needs to be in something that the Saints run or something similar to what the Saints run with Drew Brees. And the last thing I'd say is this. 2 years ago and last year, the Dolphins hit on a bunch of defensive draft picks and defensive free agents. They need to do the same thing this offseason for offensive players. If they hit on those offensive players in addition to the draft and free agency, Tua will be just fine next year. No need to panic in Miami.
Rex, you called the drafting of Tua the biggest risk in draft history. Are you sticking with it, or are you on Dan's side?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's the biggest risk. But there's no way they're going to take a quarterback now. So to me, look, Dan makes a great point. Build this team the way, not just schematically, but the way the Saints built their football team. Why? Because you have a small pocket quarterback who's accurate. So to me, that's what you do. You're going to draft, I'm going to tell you, fans, this is what's going to happen. All right? They're going to take the tackle from Oregon with the 3rd overall pick. Put him in there for the next 10 years. That's how you build him. You got to protect a pocket passer, and this guy's accurate. And yes, Dan's right. Build that scheme around him, but don't forget, build that football team the way the Saints do.
All right, so they've got decisions to make. Ryan, the Bills still have games to play, and I suspect, looking at my screen, I believe Ryan is frozen. Either that or he has adopted a really strange expression on his face. So I will then steer this question instead, Dan Orlovsky, to you, and that is about Josh Allen. RC used the term in a tweet yesterday, arm arrogance, to describe what he was seeing from Josh Allen. What does that mean?
It means that you are so confident in your ability that you don't think there's anyone or anything that can stop you. You guys remember the game NBA Jam? You know, he's on fire, where you just start making throws that you're like, I probably shouldn't make this throw, but I'll do it anyway, right? You know, and so you see the pump fake in cover 0 and driving that football deep. You see sprinting to the left and throwing back across his body. You see the no-lookers that we've become synonymous with a Matthew Stafford and a Patrick Mahomes. Like, you're watching like this guy that was super talented coming into the NFL. And what's happened in Buffalo is the general manager believed in him. And then the head coach believed in him. And then his play caller, Brian Dable, believed in him. And then his